hot in here. Let's go outside. I don't want a lot of drunk hillbillies tromping on my feet.
The Last Picture Show was a legendary film, right? It became a famous film after receiving a great deal of criticism and discussion. The success of the film hinged on a single moment. The film had to be banned, although America adored The Last Picture Show. Before we get into that sequence, let's talk about the film and everything that led up to that one portion that created so much chaos. In 1971, Peter Bogdanovich helmed and co-wrote the coming-of-age drama film The Last Picture Show, based on Larry McMurtry's semi-autobiographical 1966 book of the same name. The picture has an impressive ensemble cast that includes Cybill Shepherd, Cloris Leachman, Ben Johnson, Ellen Burstyn, and Timothy Bottoms. Taking place in a tiny town in northern Texas from 1951 to 1952, the story chronicles the lives of two lifelong friends and high school seniors, Sonny Crawford, Bridges, and Dwayne Jackson, Bottoms. With a small budget of $1.3 million, Columbia Pictures' The Last Picture Show earned critical and financial praise upon its theatrical release on October 22, 1971. The film grossed $29 million. Its 8 nominations for Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Director, were further proof of its triumph. With more nominations for Jeff Bridges and Ellen Burstyn, Best Supporting Actor went to Ben Johnson, while Best Supporting Actress went to Cloris Leachman. Bogdanovich helmed the 1990 sequel, Texasville, which was adapted on McMurtry's 1987 book. Texasville was not as successful critically or commercially as its predecessor, despite having many of the original cast members return. But even after all this time, The Last Picture Show is still considered a landmark in American film. Cultural, historical, and artistic merit led to its selection for preservation in the U.S. National Film Registry in 1998 by the Library of Congress. A brief history of the film. Stage actor, film writer, and critic Peter Bogdanovich, 31 years old, has only ever directed one picture, Targets, sometimes called Before I Die, which he co-wrote and produced with his wife, Polly Platt. Stumbling upon the idea to adapt Larry McMurtry's book happened by chance while standing in line at the drugstore's checkout. A book with the title The Last Picture Show caught Bogdanovich's eye. At first, he set it aside since he didn't think it was fascinating. Sal Mineo, an actor who had shown interest in becoming involved but felt he was too elderly for the parts, eventually sent Platt a copy of the book a few weeks later. He suggested that Bogdanovich and Platt make a movie out of it. The book's merit was acknowledged by Platt, even if he was uncertain about its cinematic potential. The screen adaptation of the book was a team effort including Bogdanovich, McMurtry, and Platt. Columbia Pictures lawyer and aspiring filmmaker Steven Spielberg bought the rights to adapt the novel into a picture and was brought on as producer. Orson Welles, who was staying at Bogdanovich's residence at the time, proposed shooting in black and white as a way to approach the film's style. Though it was a controversial choice back then, everyone got behind it because of the creative merit it represented. The film took place in Archer City, Texas, McMurtry's little hometown, which he rechristened Thalia in his book. Anarene, a ghost village close to Archer City, served as inspiration for Bogdanovich's film. This decision was also a nod to the iconic cowtown, Abilene, Kansas, from Howard Hawks's Red River, 1948, which Sonny and Dwayne see in the last scene of the film. After shooting was over, Bogdanovich went back to Los Angeles to use a moviola to edit the picture. Since he considered his responsibilities as director and co-writer to be sufficient, he edited the whole picture without giving himself credit as an editor. He proposed Don Carr, who had been helping Bogdanovich with certain technical parts of another project at a neighboring office, when the Motion Picture Editors Guild needed an editor credit. Bogdanovich conducted an early edit, but Carr said afterwards that he contributed significantly to the film's final shape and made it even better. The Last Picture Show was a groundbreaking film that became famous for its unique use of black and white photography and its unflinching depiction of small-town life after a showing for industry insiders revealed its potential. It was a watershed event in American movie history, and Bogdanovich's vision and collaborative spirit are on full display in it. The shooting and production myth. Peter Bogdanovich had to go outside the box to overcome a number of obstacles when filming The Last Picture Show, a movie adaptation of Larry McMurtry's beloved book. Locating an ideal shooting site that faithfully portrayed the sleepy Texas hamlet from McMurtry's book was the first and most pressing concern. Bogdanovich faced logistical challenges owing to the tiny size and inadequate infrastructure of Archer City, Texas, which happened to be McMurtry's hometown. But this decision gave the picture an air of unmatched realism that captured the spirit of life in 1950s rural Texas. In order to overcome these obstacles and keep production running smoothly, we had to work closely with the local community to resolve logistical issues. This collaboration not only made production easier, but it also added to the film's authenticity by weaving the town's distinct personality into the story. Bringing McMurtry's complex book to life on film was an even more intimidating undertaking. Careful adaptation was necessary to maintain the book's core while making it accessible to a wider audience, thanks to its deep plot and multifaceted characters. Bogdanovich painstakingly adapted the novel's themes of friendship, youth, and time, passing into a cinematic story with the help of McMurtry and his wife Polly Platt. In order to embrace visual storytelling while staying true to the novel's essence, working with McMurtry was crucial. The film's ability to grab audiences emotionally and thematically was a direct result of its inventive language. Bogdanovich made a groundbreaking creative decision when he decided to shoot The Last Picture Show in black and white, which was somewhat unorthodox for the time since color films were the norm. This style emphasized the film's themes of loss and nostalgia, while also adding to its era realism. Robert Richardson, a cinematographer famous for his work with light and shadow, was instrumental in bringing Bogdanovich's vision to life by expressively depicting both the bleak Texas environment and the protagonist's private moments. Equally important to the film's success was the casting procedure. Bogdanovich and casting director Jane Jenkins held rigorous tryouts to find actors who could do justice to the many distinct characters created by McMurtry. The ensemble was given depth and realism by the inclusion of developing stars like Cybill Shepherd, Ben Johnson, and Jeff Bridges, with seasoned performers like Timothy Bottoms and Cloris Leachman. Bogdanovich's method as a director, which prioritized character-driven narrative and realistic performances, enabled the performers to fully immerse themselves in their characters. This method, in addition to Bogdanovich's painstaking focus on detail, helped make the picture an emotional hit and critical darling. Creative obstacles were solved with new solutions, a collaborative spirit was evident, and there was an unbroken devotion to respecting the original material throughout the production of The Last Picture Show. Thanks to Bogdanovich's painstaking attention to detail and the dedication of his actors and crew, the film is still a moving representation of American life and proof of cinema's staying power. A portrait of Cybill Shepherd as J.C. Farrow. The Last Picture Show, starring Cybill Shepherd as J.C. Farrow, is a triumph of talent, chance, and Peter Bogdanovich's impeccable taste. Cybill Shepherd came into this world in Memphis, Tennessee on February 18, 1950. She was beautiful and charismatic even as a little child, which paved the way for her successful career. Modeling was Shepherd's entry point into the entertainment industry. Being named Miss Teenage Memphis was her big break, propelling her into the New York City modeling profession. She became an instant star in the modeling industry because to her stunning good looks and captivating personality, which landed her on the covers of several magazines. Peter Bogdanovich, a rising star in Hollywood's film industry, was casting for Larry McMurtry's book, The Last Picture Show. Set in a sleepy Texas hamlet in the early 1950s, the narrative delves into issues of sexuality, isolation, and the relentless march of time. J.C. Farrow, a stunning and driven high school student, had a crucial role in the plot and was an integral part of the story. Bogdanovich's luck ran out when he found Shepherd. Her stunning good looks and the captivating depth she seems to capture in just one shot captivated him the moment he saw her on the cover of Glamour. Bogdanovich invited Shepard to try out for the part of JC because she was sure she could play the role well. The audition was quite competitive, with several well-known actresses vying for the role, and she had no prior acting experience. The innate skill that Shepard had, nonetheless, was evident. After Shepard's audition performance, Bogdanovich was even more certain that her lack of experience would give the role of JC a realistic air of youth. She embodied the director's idea for the picture with her unrefined skill. Shepard landed the part of JC Farrow because to her relationship with the other actors and her deft portrayal of the character's complexities. She was a major reason the picture was a hit because to her mesmerizing and eerie performance as JC. The debut of Shepard's flourishing acting career was marked by her critically lauded performance. Cybill Shepherd's performance as JC Farrow in The Last Picture Show was a watershed moment that catapulted her to stardom in Hollywood. It was in this part that she not only began her acting career, but also established herself as an accomplished performer. The diabolical pool scenario. Among the most memorable and much contested parts of The Last Picture Show is the pool scene with Cybill Shepherd. Critics and viewers alike were deeply affected by the film's depiction of the uncomfortable interplay between the irresistible charm of youth and the societal mores of a 1950s Texas town. In spite of its critical importance to the plot, the sequence sparked heated discussion and controversy both before and after the film's release. JC Farrow, played by Shepard, seeks to seduce the males in her social circle to see how far her charm will take her in this notorious scene. A game of strip billiards is started by her in the neighborhood pool hall. JC gradually takes off her clothes in the game until she is standing nude in front of the shocked and awkward males. Anxietiest moments include JC's conflicting needs for approval and control, as well as her complicated blend of innocence and manipulation. Because of Shepard's lack of expertise and his conservative beliefs on nudity, filming the pool scene was a real challenge. Shepard, who had no prior acting experience, was thrust into an exposed position, as she had to execute a very personal and exposing role. She had no legal remedy since the promise that she may choose not to participate in the naked scenes was never put in writing. After learning of Shepard's concerns, director Peter Bogdanovich did all he could to put her at ease. He made his way around the set, letting the cameraman and sound technician in on the secret. In order to keep Shepard from feeling too awkward, the other performers in the scenario were videotaped independently. Even with all these safety measures in place, Shepard was still understandably worried about the scene's possible consequences. Playboy magazine's subsequent publication of still images from the scene confirmed her worst fears. There was a major outcry over the unlawful release of sexually graphic photos. Shepard sued the magazine because he felt assaulted and misled. Actors' rights and privacy, and especially as it pertains to nudity on film, were the focus of much attention after the case. Litigation over the pool scene was only the beginning. A larger discussion over the ethical treatment of performers and the need for explicit material and clear, enforceable standards concerning nudity ensued after the occurrence. After receiving criticism and threats of legal action, the Screen Performers Guild passed new regulations to prevent performers from being forced to do nude sequences and to make sure that any agreements on such scenes were properly recorded and adhered to. Cybill Shepherd was notoriously conservative, particularly on the subject of film nudity, despite the fact that she played attractive and sometimes daring parts. The Last Picture Show was a turning point in her career because of the tension that arose from the gap between her public image and her personal convictions. Shepherd came from a typical family in Memphis, Tennessee. She maintained her traditionally conservative work ethic while coming from a more liberal background. Shepherd had strong convictions that often put her in conflict with the demands of the entertainment industry, despite the temptation and possibilities that Hollywood offered. In The Last Picture Show, Shepherd played the part of JC Farrow, which demanded an honesty and transparency from her that she had never experienced before. Scenes that were personal and often graphic were necessary since Jaycee was the key character in the film, which explored sexual awakening and the complexity of teenage desire. During shooting, Shepard's conservative views on nudity caused some friction. The thought of baring oneself on camera made her nervous and uneasy at first. This hesitancy sprang from her deeply held principles and her upbringing, in addition to her own emotional discomfort. Director Peter Bogdanovich handled Shepard's concerns delicately since he knew she had doubts. He respected Shepard's bounds while still being aware of the sequence's significance to the film's realism and emotional effect. Shepard was able to play the part with conviction and authenticity because to their thoughtful bargaining and cordial conversation, which resulted in a compromise. Shepard's nudity-phobic attitudes enriched her performance rather than detracting from it. Her acting chops were on full display as she convincingly portrayed Jaycee's inner turmoil and frailties without resorting to graphic violence. Both viewers and reviewers were impressed by her subtle performance, which she brought to the character. The results and follow-up. Public outcry, legal disputes, and structural shifts in the film business followed the Last Picture Show's contentious pool scene. Critics and audiences alike were divided by the scene in which Jaycee Farrow plays strip billiards while fully undressed, which had far-reaching effects on the film's reception and distribution. The Last Picture Show was met with mixed reviews when it was released in 1971. Many were impressed by the film's realistic depiction of youth and the decline of rural towns, but many were outraged by the graphic brutality of the pool scene. Some reviewers and moviegoers saw the sequence as a daring creative statement that brought the issues of sexual awakening and moral decay to the forefront of the film. There were passionate discussions on what constitutes decency in movies, since some people thought it was exploitative and gratuitous. The graphic nature of the material, particularly as it pertained to a young actress like Cybill Shepherd, who was beginning her cinematic career, only served to fan the flames. Many conservatives at the time found the scene's unfiltered portrayal of adolescent sexuality quite offensive. As a result of the unease it caused in viewers, there was a larger social reaction. Unauthorized still images from the pool scene surfaced in Playboy magazine, further fueling the controversy surrounding the picture. Shepard felt profoundly misled since she had voiced her reservations about her naked scenes. Although she had been promised that she could avoid these kinds of scenarios, she couldn't rely on such promises since they weren't legally enforceable. The absence of rights for performers regarding the unlawful use of graphic photographs was brought to light when Shepard decided to sue Playboy after the photos were released, and the subject received substantial media attention. A number of community organizations and moral watchdog groups launched campaigns against the film as the dispute escalated. These organizations claimed that the sexual sequences were damaging to public morality and obscene, especially the pool scene. They were worried that the material may damage the moral fiber of young viewers and bring society ideals crashing down. The film's honest depiction of adolescent sexuality was seen as particularly offensive in more conservative places, which amplified the criticism. Municipal authorities in a number of American cities and towns banned the film after receiving community pressure. The Last Picture Show drew threats of boycotts and legal action against theaters that showed it. The distribution of the picture was greatly impacted by these prohibitions, which in turn limited its audience and its potential at the box office. Many theaters restricted admission to adults only, and in other instances, the picture was removed off screens altogether. In the early 1970s, America was divided along cultural lines, with supporters of creative freedom and opponents of further regulation at odds with the banning of the Last Picture Show. This was a microcosm of the larger social conflicts around morality, art, and sexuality. The event also caused major shifts in the movie business. The Screen Performers Guild enacted stricter regulations concerning performers' exposure to nudity in order to safeguard them against exploitation. To ensure that performers were adequately informed and had given their express permission, these regulations necessitated thorough documentation and mutual agreement prior to recording explicit sequences. By giving performers more say over their public personas, the goal of this change was to forestall crises like as the one involving Cybill Shepherd and Playboy. With 8 nominations and 2 wins, The Last Picture Show was critically acclaimed despite the controversy and prohibitions. Many consider the controversial pool scene a turning point in the film because of the honesty and rawness it portrays about human relationships and society standards. By promoting a more nuanced approach to contentious issues and highlighting the significance of ethical concerns in filmmaking, the film's popularity and the subsequent debates had a significant impact on the trajectory of American cinema. Both the creative accomplishments and the controversy that The Last Picture Show sparked ensure its continued significance in American film. Both viewers and reviewers were moved by the film's candid depiction of coming-of-age, sexuality, and life in a small town. It also sparked vital conversations around creative freedom, censorship, and the rights of performers, while also challenging social standards. Studying and appreciating The Last Picture Show. Decades after its premiere is a tribute to its history, which is a reflection of the ability of cinema to reflect and impact cultural discourse.